cryptocurrency.
Like a couple bitcoins.
Money though.
Pull up on my Nakamoto.
Hello, welcome to the Blockchain Dynamic Show.
Hello, welcome everyone.
My name is Brandon Doach.
And I am Woody.
We're chilling here. It's Sunday, April 8th.
That is right, and it is episode number 89.
All right. The show, as always, is for entertainment purposes and is not to be considered financial advice.
That's correct. And as you know, we like to give away some cryptocurrency when we can on the show. We've had a Arionum giveaway that's been sponsored the last couple of weeks by CryptoBwan from Twitter.
Yeah, it's true. Check them out. That's Crypt0B1 on Twitter. Yeah, we got 4,000 Arrow giveaway, man. That's sweet. Nobody got the question from last week. The question was, how many coins per entrant minimum for the Decred airdrop?
Right, nobody got it during the live show. I did notice somebody sent the answer in afterwards, but we just do this giveaway for live listeners.
Yep.
And the answer was 248 and some change. Almost 249.
And at today's price, that would be worth, even still with the altcoins going down, that's $12,400. Pretty sweet.
Pretty good airdrop.
You would have to have had to know to somehow hold Decred for 2 years, but
Right.
but kudos to everyone that did. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, we'll have another trivia question later in the show. And as always, I guess if nobody gets it, then we'll roll it over once again to next week.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, let's do the news.
Yep, started off with some news. We got a couple pieces of Coinbase news we found interesting this week. First one was that they announced some support for Bitcoin forks going forward, possibly.
They're saying that you can withdraw your forks, essentially.
At some point.
Even for just like some of the stupider forks, like the Yobit stuff?
No, it would still be at their discretion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want just dozens of forks that I can withdraw.
You want every fork that Yobit has ever credited.
has ever honored, every random one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's really cool. It's a good move.
Might as well. I mean, for a lot of people, it just amounts to some amount of free Bitcoin anyway.
Right.
And for people that want to get into those forks, then maybe it gives them a chance to get those coins that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to.
Yeah, I think Coinbase really just want to keep their hands clean on this. And now they can be like, oh, well, we're not going to trade any of these tokens because maybe we can't trust them or whatever, but we'll at least let you withdraw them, which I think that's probably about as good as an exchange could do.
Yeah, plus it makes it feel from a little bit less like they're in total control of the decision-making of your Bitcoin there, even though they're still getting to decide which forks you get.
That's like...
For some people, it made probably a big difference that they weren't able to get whichever one they wanted. I don't know. I guess the highest market cap one behind Bitcoin Cash would be probably Bitcoin Gold, I think.
Yeah, I think definitely.
And then maybe some other one that I'm not really as aware of, but that would be my guess for the one for the withdrawal, I suppose, if I had to guess randomly.
This brings them more into line with what a lot of the altcoin exchanges were already doing, like Bittrex with Bitcoin Private would let people withdraw the Bitcoin Private, but they're not going to open a market for it.
Right. So they also announced another thing, that they are starting a venture fund to invest in cryptocurrency space projects.
See a lot of venture funds floating around.
Yeah. So they're just looking for other projects and companies in the space to put money in. They definitely specifically mention Coinbase alumni in their announcement, which makes it sound like, they probably have a nice little tight-knit group there that they can kind of pool from for some ideas that they can trust maybe or whatever.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned one interesting thing was that it's possible that they would invest in things that seemed like competitors in the space to them.
That is interesting.
Just for the sake of innovation. So I was curious what they meant by that or why they would bother mentioning it. They must have something in mind that they're not completely talking about.
Yeah, it also seems to some extent that they probably can't even direct all of their revenue back into Coinbase itself at this point, like efficiently, so they're looking for other places to park their money
Yeah.
while still kind of contributing to the space or getting exposure to the space. So yeah, it's a venture fund from Coinbase.
I think if I read between the lines, though, what they're really trying to say is they want to give the blockchain dynamics boys all a bunch of money.
Yes, I don't see any other way to read that from this article.
Another
I'm in.
Another piece of news this week is the Verge chain had a exploit problem.
Yes, is following up last week where there were a lot of blockchain attacks on the Crypto Night chains.
True.
And this week we've got a really big attack on the Verge chain. Did they shut down trading on all the markets at this point, pretty much?
They sure did when it was going down. I remember it shutting down, but I haven't checked for a little bit, to be honest.
I'll try and check one.
Not actually trading Verge. But I did check out kind of the incident itself. OC Miner from Supernova Pools was the one that started bringing it to people's attention after something seemed like it was amiss. And basically, the exploiter had found a way with spoofing a timestamp to allow them to sort of skip the round robin of algorithms that Verge has in place.
Yep.
And so they were able to get all of the blocks onto one algo for a period of time and started generating blocks incredibly fast to the tune of like 1 a second, according to a post of OC Miners.
Yeah, that's interesting because if they can just if the coin is supposed to have a ton of different algorithms and they can just force one, that potentially would allow them to do the network attack with smaller hash power too.
So I have no idea about the status of it at this point.
It looks like it's trading on Bittrex again.
Yeah. I'm sure that they would work towards a resolution. Ultimately, I think, this type of thing is what a cryptocurrency has to get past if they're going to make it long term. The exploit existed, whether people like it or not, and Verge isn't the type of cryptocurrency that would roll back the chain, so things will go forward, and I highly doubt that it'll be more than a blip in their history when you get down the road, honestly.
In the really long march of time, you're definitely right. This kind of stuff ends up being forgotten usually within a year or two, but I think in the short term it's going to shake a lot of people's confidence. Usually chains are a little more responsive in dealing with this kind of stuff, and I think that's really been the frustration that people have with Verge, is it seems like they either are slow in reacting to it or they potentially don't have the technical know-how to effectively stop these attacks.
For sure, I can understand that from a confidence or investor perspective, where it makes people wonder what else they might be missing or something.
Right.
Just sort of when something's been missed.
For instance, yet Supernova dropped their pools. The question will be, I guess, if places like Bittrex, and they're on Binance, right?
Yep.
If some of these larger exchanges start to drop support for them, obviously that'll really tell you that it's gotten critical for them. But
that would be a huge step. Yeah.
I also wouldn't trust the exchanges to be the first to react in a bad situation, because obviously, as we saw with these Verge attacks, it seemed like one of OC Miner's frustrations is nobody was even noticing it for a long time.
Right. His miners had to bring it to his attention, essentially, that something was not quite right.
Yep. So yeah, it's still out there. It'll keep happening.
Well, we've been kind of talking about the upcoming XMR fork, and so we might as well mention that it has occurred.
It's happened. The Monero fork is here. The Monero crew seems to be really happy.
Yeah, it seems like it went really well as far as the people that wanted to be on that new chain all getting on there, and they saw a massive reduction in hash rate, which kind of reinforced some of their suspicions that a significant amount of that unknown hash power might have been coming from devices that are no longer compatible with the new algorithms, such like ASICs or pre-deployed botnets.
ASICs, botnets, FPGAs, any kind of a specialized, something that's too specialized to switch with the new fork, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It really gives you an interesting light on just how much hash power was centralized. Maybe, I don't want to say centralized, but inflexible already on Monero.
And it seemed like from some comparisons people were doing too, that based on the hash rate of Bitmain's Monero Classic, I don't know what else to call it at this point. Basically, that has like about 70% of the hash that was on the old XMR chain.
Yep.
Which is sort of correlates over to what they seem to have lost as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's also, it's really interesting to see now Bitmain, of course, just mining this Monero Classic.
Right.
So I guess that really, I mean, I think the whole situation with Bitmain will really be the more interesting part of the story, because as far as Monero is concerned, they're going to keep on going forward, obviously, just fine, probably. I'm not expecting that their network is going to be jeopardized.
Right. They all seem happy. Monero was at the top of whattomine.com, profitability's up for miners that are interested in it. So
yeah, that's one of the nice things about new algorithms, too. There's a little bit of opportunity there for miners to exploit the time it takes for people to reconfigure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as far as that goes, I think Monero is going to be fine, but with this being the first time that anyone's just directly tried to change algos to get out of a Bitmain ASIC, it'll be fun to see, I guess, what Bitmain tries to do.
Yeah.
So now they've got, Bitmain's going to have Bitcoin Cash that they're backing for the Bitcoin fork. They're going to have Monero Classic that they're backing for the Monero fork. I wish that, or do they...
Well, yeah, I don't know how that all boils down. But the one thing Monero Classic doesn't have is, I don't think, anywhere to trade it, right? Like, they don't really have any infrastructure support.
Yeah, it's too new at this point. I'm sure there will be markets, but there's also a lot of concern that people have with trading it because of the replay situation and the fact that there's multiple Monero Classic chains, I guess, out there right now, with the Bitmain one seemingly being the biggest one. I presume that would be the longest chain and the valid one then, but...
Right, so basically a bunch of splintered groups all tried to capitalize on the taking the
title,
the old fork,
taking the throne of
I don't think
Monero
that's
Classic.
That's not going to work out.
That's good stuff.
Maybe for one of them, I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, be careful if you do mess with Monero. If you mess with the classic versions of Monero, make sure that you're protected against replay attacks. Oh yeah, so that went down with Monero. There's going to be a bunch of new XMR V7 coins, I'm sure.
Yep, that's right.
That'll do it for the news.
Just a little bit of news there for you.
A little bit of news. Next, we've got some markets.
Take a look at some market movements this week. Not much movement on Bitcoin from the weekly perspective. There was some good chop in the middle, though.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to weeks prior, this has been really low volatility. Bitcoin is up about 3%, so about $200 for a week. That's probably about as small as it gets. And this is compared to the last week where it got annihilated.
Yeah. Ethereum up a little bit as well. A little bit more, about 5.6%.
Yep, they're doing all right. And I think that was generally true for altcoins this week, too. I saw a lot more green than red as far as just going down the charts.
Yeah, definitely. Across multiple exchanges, too. A little bit of green here, a little bit of green there. Nothing super, exciting or sustained as far as massive rises, but...
Right. Yeah, there's nothing... Usually when we break out of one of these long bear markets, there's like one crazy, just huge coin that will, just do a breakout volume, or plus 1,000% or something.
Coin will get some attention at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Gets everybody talking. And we haven't really had that yet. And we also, if you compare it to like last week, I don't think most of the things are not up even compared to what they went down last week.
Yeah. Just a smattering. It's kind of just business as usual with alts, I suppose, really is what that comes down to.
Yeah, basically the sort of in-between phase of this bear trend is continuing. Let's see here. Looking at gainers and losers. We've got Hex coin up 370%. I think that's like a Yobit coin.
It's on Topia too, I think.
Hex?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, nice.
Grossel.
Grossel coin up 144. That's the only one I could identify from the list this week. Is that a really older coin, Grossel?
Yeah, pretty older.
As far as the losers this week, we got Centra down 80%. That's the Binance delisting.
Right, that sounded like it was quite the delisting. Like just a real.
Usually they
real
just
blowout.
get delisted quietly. There's not people getting arrested or whatever. I don't remember what actually happened with them, but
right.
Not looking good for Centra. Mithril down 57%, and then we got Bitcoin Private down 37%.
That must not. I don't think Bitcoin private is traded very many places.
I think it's. I know it's on Trade Satoshi, so that's not,
Right,
That's getting pretty. That's getting pretty far out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part did really well this week too.
Which one?
Particle.
Oh, nice. I missed that.
Cool.
Yep, that's pretty much it for the markets this week. I'm curious to see. There's a lot of people on the edge right now.
Oh, another smaller Topia one that started doing some movements was Bismuth too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good catch on that.
Yeah,
that's true. Bismuth's been really volatile. It's just like it's way up one day, down, up by twice as much the next day.
Right.
But yeah, it's good stuff. Maybe Bismuth is the hero. That'll be the hero that saves us from the bear market.
So that's just a little bit of market talk.
There you have it. We're going to do the trivia question next.
The way that this works is we do the trivia through Twitter. So we'll ask the question, and if you know the answer, you can include it in a tweet at Chain Dynamics. And the first person to do so will be the winner. And then we'll contact you after the show to get your Arionium address to send you the arrow.
Yep, and like we said earlier, if nobody gets the question by the end of the show, then we'll just roll the prize over to next week.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Got to keep the money moving.
Got to keep it moving.
So the question for the week here, what does the acronym HEAT stand for in Heat Ledger?
That's right. What does the acronym HEAT stand for in Heat Ledger?
Once again, tweet that to at Chain Dynamics, and you can win 4,000 Arionium.
Good luck.
Next segment we're going to jump into is a couple of coin projects. We got a couple that we're going to look at this week. The first is we did a little Lightning Network test run, I guess.
Yep. We checked out the Eclair Wallet. I guess so this doesn't have a coin associated with it or anything like that, just to be clear.
Bitcoin, really?
Yeah, Bitcoin's the coin. Basically, we've been seeing these Lightning implementations coming out, and we were tempted to try to set one up right away, and we started looking at the instructions, and I don't think we made it very far through that process. So when this Eclair one came out, which has a Android version, it seemed like once again, an opportunity to see if we can get through those steps to get that sweet, sweet Lightning sticker.
We gotta have that Blockstream. It's the Blockstream Lightning sticker, right? They're the ones doing it.
Right, that's right. So here was my experience basically with going through that. Installing the app was as straightforward as you can think of through the Google Play Store. And I knew that I wanted to get the Blockstream Lightning stickers, so that was easy. I already knew where I was kind of going with it. Basically, get the app going, create a BTC address inside of the Eclair app, send some BTC from wherever to that. And now the next step, once that gets confirmed over, is to use some of that BTC to open up a payment channel. And this is where I'm kind of just start using terms that I've heard a little bit. You know what I mean? So
it's like we know what a payment channel is, but we don't really understand it the same way that we would like opening up a normal wallet.
Yeah. But I did need to do this. The only node that was available by default is the one from Async, which is the company that creates this wallet. So that was the one that I chose first. And I got it all channeled up, and I got my cart all set up over on the Blockstream side, right. And I had my nice little QR code that got my invoice in there. It knew what I was ordering, so I knew it was the right stuff, but it just kept failing, basically.
And it was just like a kind of a didn't work, please try again error, right?
Yep, can't do it. But the error was available on GitHub, and so the guy suggested that it was strictly a liquidity issue. And this is really beta software, so we can kind of accept that, but we're talking super low, like you must only be able to send around $1 or so through that node at this point would be my guess, because I never found an amount that was low enough to actually send anything through it.
So it's like it's a Lightning channel that you have set up and funded, but the provider of the channel also doesn't have enough funds to support it?
I can't really say that I totally understand why it didn't work in that situation. It felt like because I had funded the channel that it should have had enough at least for me to perform the function, but there must be the other nodes in between it somehow affect that or make it impossible in this case.
Yeah, we thought we had plenty in that account
For sure.
to cover the fees.
Yeah, we definitely felt like that.
So that's pretty. Yeah, it was really an interesting experience to see you try and get through that.
So fail. But then they suggested that you could maybe open up a payment channel directly to the node that you were trying to send the payment to. And so I found...
Does that mean you wouldn't connect to async then?
That's right. So instead you manually put in a node address. In this case, I found one for the Blockstream store, I guess, or something like that. And I put it in there, and then it allowed me to send the payment with no problem. And then I was able to close the remainder of the balance on that channel and send the BTC back to my home wallet. So overall,
Beautiful.
I made it, and I got the stickers.
We got the stickers.
And that was kind of my experience with the Eclair Wallet. I also learned that Eclair means lightning in French.
Oh, all right.
Because the reason that that's relevant to the treats we eat is because they get fried quickly.
Oh, there you go. What a wonderful fun fact.
Yeah,
Wood.
thought that I might as well put that in there.
That's really cool. How many Bitcoin transactions then? Would it be 4? Was it 4 Bitcoin transactions to open and close? It should just be 2, right? 1 to open and 1 to close.
Yeah, the opening and closing of the channel does require confirmations, so I suppose it's somehow included in a transaction. I think those were 3 confirmations each for opening or closing a channel, and then also the transaction in to the Eclair wallet and the transaction out.
Okay, right. Cool stuff, man. It's really, I kind of laughed at Lightning Network a little bit last year because I thought it sounded like vaporware, I guess. So it's cool to see that even they've made this level of progress, I guess, even if it wasn't like a super user-friendly or seamless experience for you. It's cool to see they've got this far.
Right, exactly. I mean, it was really easy to accept that it was going to be kind of beta going into it, and it ended up kind of working out. They have an example in there with coffee, of course, on their site where you can just send like really tiny amounts, and I think that's what their payment channel was more set up to demonstrate.
You're just high rolling with these stickers.
I guess so. Yeah, those $2 stickers.
$2 stickers is a little too much. That's a cheap cup of coffee in a lot of places.
So between coin projects here, I'll acknowledge that we've got a winner here on our trivia.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, we
Congratulations.
had 3 answers, but it looks like the first one was Jet Jaguar.
Nice, man. Congratulations.
Congratulations. We'll get at you after the show.
Heat, of course, is a heuristically enhanced asynchronous transaction ledger. I'm sure everyone just knew that off the top of their head. They definitely weren't.
You definitely didn't just Google it.
Yeah,
put it
definitely
in there.
didn't look that up.
But that's a pretty nice acronym and
It's
a fun
heavy.
project to learn about.
Heavy acronym. Yeah, I haven't caught up with Heat in a long time, but I do remember using their platform in the past.
Yep.
Alrighty, congratulations to the trivia winner.
And that'll take us on to a little segment about Veriblock.
Yeah, I guess we're getting into testnet kind of beta phase stuff today. We wanted to catch up with Veriblock and see what was going on there. They are still in a testnet state. So Veriblock is a coin that is going to try to use the Bitcoin blockchain to secure other blockchains and then kind of up the value of Veriblock in the process, I guess, is their goal. So it's still in the testnet phase. This is just going to be like a straight-up proof-of-work coin that they're going to launch at some unknown time. The launch date has not been declared, so it's probably still quite a ways off. But at any rate, we thought we would try and check out the software, see what they've got.
Yeah, certainly a cool base idea.
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing about running Veriblock is that you have to have a synced-up Bitcoin node, which I now know that you only have to have the testnet running, which is only like 18 gigabytes, but I thought you had to do the full Bitcoin node, so...
So we just went ahead and synced them both up.
Yeah, yep. So of course I got use the full 200 gigabytes or whatever to sync up the main chain and the testnet, but that's fine. I feel like I've been trading crypto this long, I've got to have a Bitcoin node at this point anyway.
And it was actually, considering, how easy it is to go without setting up a Bitcoin node, being involved in Bitcoin, that was actually really easy. And the syncing was a lot easier than I think we expected.
Yeah, in many ways it was easier often than using some of the online wallets is. If you're familiar with Linux, it's as far as installing software on Linux, it's basically kind of the second easiest thing you can do. You're just installing it from somebody else's repo. So it really was very quick and straightforward. The Bitcoin node part was very easy.
So step 1, Bitcoin testnet node running.
Boom, we're synced up. We got my testnet coins ready to go. The next thing you need is the Veriblock software then. They've got it coming in 4 parts right now, so there's a daemon that the node itself runs on. You've got a command line kind of software that you would use to send commands in and out of the daemon.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a regular proof of work miner, and then their new proof of proof miner, which is the kind of their selling point on using that to secure other blockchains. The idea there being that you're going to send Bitcoin transactions through the proof of proof system and be rewarded with Veriblock for doing that.
And so the person doing proof of proof is spending Bitcoin to do so?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so you have to have Bitcoins on your testnet account, which can be testnet Bitcoins, of course. But.
So in the long run, then proof of proof miners are competing to guess how much money it's worth to spend on proof of proof or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it's going to end up turning out. If the amount of proofs that are available don't stack up to be this worth even a single Bitcoin transaction fee, then you wouldn't expect any proof of proof mining to go on.
Interesting.
Which Bitcoin transactions have been cheap lately, so at least for the time being, I think that you'll see a lot of that. What will be interesting is if Bitcoin gets really cluttered again, and you get to a point where these Bitcoin transactions are like $5-10 a piece. That's going to make anybody that was using POP, all of a sudden their rates will have skyrocketed, of course, too. So that'll create an interesting dynamic for the coin as it goes forward. But that's just one of those things. It's hard to predict exactly what direction it'll go in.
Yeah. So we're talking about Veriblock. We've got the steps that we've taken is we got the Bitcoin testnet downloaded, and now we're syncing up our Veriblock node.
Got our node synced up. The next thing we did is kick on the proof of work miner in the testnet, which is always fun. It's always easy to get coins in testnet. And to their credit here, they had a really simple system for setting up a local node and getting set up for solo mining. Usually that can be a bit of a chore. And there's some config files and stuff that you'll have to mess with. They made it pretty straightforward here, which was cool.
Nice. And you were able to generate some proof of work blocks through that?
Yeah, I got about 10 blocks overnight just on one core, which obviously is plenty to use on a testnet.
Nice.
Of course, they have no value. You can't expect to get anything for them.
Right.
So yeah, that was really fun to get. And then the final step, of course, was to test out the proof of proof mode.
Cool.
Which, once again, this was fairly easy to fire up, just some kind of simple configurations that you have to get set up. Once you fire it up, it is really a very simple interface at this point. It's basically, you run the miner, and then it's just like, all right, push enter to run a proof of proof, and you're like, all right. Okay, if you've been mining for a long time, you're not used to really pushing enter to do anything.
Right.
And so you're like, all right, I'll push enter. And then it submits a Bitcoin transaction for you. I got through that part, but I did not end up getting any Veriblock for it.
Huh.
Which makes me wonder, do the bids have to kind of like be sitting out there where people are like waiting to pay me?
Right.
Am I like just sending empty transactions through, I guess is my question.
Like there's nobody that's utilizing Veriblock that would be paying the proof of proof miner, is what you're kind of saying.
And at least at the testnet phase, the miner's not being like, hey, you're probably just burning up some Bitcoin here.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's pretty simple at this point. And I'm not sure how they really plan to have the interaction work with the proof of proof in the long term, in terms of, if it's mining, there's going to be a competition for people to try and claim these proof of proof blocks, you have to assume. And so if you're just somebody that's sitting there in the console pushing enter, you're going to have to assume that somebody else has figured out a way to do it more efficiently, you know. And so it's going to be hard to compete against them. But again, I have to imagine that the system will be a little more robust before they go to mainnet.
Yeah, right.
But still, it was an interesting experience, and it's cool to see people offering this kind of thorough of software, just like in the testnet phase. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, that's always great. Mm-hmm. Gives you everybody a chance to check it out and get involved prior to it launching or anyone making any stupid decisions.
So yeah, I guess, bottom line for me is that I'm ready for the launch whenever that is.
Yeah, do you know when that's supposed to be at all?
I don't have any idea.
Word.
I don't think it's very soon.
Yeah.
There's no official date or anything. That's Veriblock.
That is Veriblock, and that completes our little coin project section, where we talked about the Eclair Wallet and Veriblock. And now we'd like to take a look at some of those new coins.
Love it. Love them new coins.
We just can't stop looking.
Can't stop. Blockchain boys can't quit on new coins. We got a couple updates on some recent launches. Wownero is a new XMR V7 coin that came out this week.
Makes total sense that they waited for that new algo to come out and just went with that.
Yep. Guess
probably was obvious.
Yeah, they knew. Obviously, it would be the right choice.
Yep.
That launched already. I think like right after our last show, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at it, and I kind of wanted to get down on mining some Wownero, but I don't have a GPU rig at home. And because it's this new algorithm, it was really, I couldn't find very much hash out there to try and rent everything.
Yeah.
And with the new algorithm, it's hard to rent because you don't know if you're just getting hosed or not.
Sure.
But anyway, Wownero is out there and definitely had a ton of hash at the start. It might have dropped off a bit. We got another coin we want to follow up on this week is Hydra. This is our dev exit of the week. Or the developer. Apparently, this is just a random coin. We just mentioned it on our new coins a couple weeks ago. But apparently the developer was selling pre-bind coins to people in the Discord or something, and then he just disappeared.
That sometimes happens.
Classic move.
It's done.
This is when like in a month or two he's going to show back up and be like, "Oh, sorry, I had a family emergency."
Right.
Then they'll try to revive it or something. It'll be really classic crypto, I guess.
But this week, we do have a few new launches that we at least took a look at the announcements of. The first one, we're calling it the Crypto Night V7 coin of the week because, well, we always had the Crypto Night coins coming out, and now that the Crypto Night V7 is out, it seems like we can probably guess that we're going to be seeing a lot of these too.
To be fair, there were also a couple of regular Crypto Night coins again this week, but they weren't very good.
Okay.
This one's not great either,
but here it is. It's called Snowflake.
Snowflake. Got the usual virus warnings at the start. These all these crappy wallets, they always set off virus warnings, but then you never know if their warning is legit because they always have miners in them, like legitimately. But
these guys don't look like they're promising much, that's for sure.
No, it really is. It's a generic coin. We just noted it here because it's a continuation of having a Crypto Night coin get launched every week.
It looks like if they mentioned down at the bottom here that they're preparing some ICO interface to fund something blah de blah. That's never a great sign for me.
Some jargon. I'm curious to see if Monero starts doing forks every 6 months and changing their algo, or is there going to be like a little herd of Crypto Night coins that are all trying to change their algorithm, or are they just kind of going to fade off into the sunset?
I don't know. Probably a huge spectrum of stuff will happen to them all depending on how serious the devs want to get.
That'll be funny.
Yeah, it will be.
All right, next up, that coin is Snowflake. That's our Crypto Night V7 coin of the week.
And then there's 0x1.
0x1.
This one's SHA 256.
Coins are really getting excited about starting with 0x for some reason, which is funny.
Yeah.
I know it's got like a computer science
significance
or something, but
the Ethereum addresses start that way. It's got something to do with that too.
All right, yep.
But I think it's even more
computer
science-y than that.
Well, anyway, now we have 0x1. I hope that they just start. It'll be interesting when shit coins are just indistinguishable in names. Like they'll give up on names and it'll just be like 0x2, 0x11, 0x13.
Right.
And everyone will be like, "Oh, did you see the 0x1284 pump?"
Mm-hmm. That'd be great. No coin names at all.
What we got here is 0x1. Oh, nice. They got that wallet prefix in here, so this one might be a wallet builders.
This one at least, this reminds me just of regular old coin. I mean, once again, at least they have some of the stuff right in relation to the no pre-mine and no ICO.
Yeah, that's
always something that you're going to be looking for.
That's kind of it's a little bit of a trick, especially in this case because the rewards are so front-loaded.
Just so loaded up in the front. Looks like the first 600 blocks are pretty much where it was at.
The first 2,000 blocks will have like 90% of all the coins, which is so it's another way of getting all the coins right away. It's not really a pre-mine, but
right.
So yeah, just a coin.
But when you can find these ones at launch and you have a wild hair, then they can be pretty fun.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of coin that can be fun to insta-mine at launch, because essentially that lets you get the coins for no cost, and then it's just then it's just fun for you. But that coin there is 0x1.
Yep.
Next on our new coins review here, we have Webdollar.
This one was a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique. Their main thing is trying to very highly distribute mining.
Okay.
They want, of course, we've heard it. That's not a new idea at all. But they want.
We talked about Hadron recently that was trying that too.
Yep. One of the more interesting parts that they try to describe is this idea of social mining, which is where they want to make it really easy for people to set up a pool of miners that then they could invite their like friends and family into to get them mining.
Okay.
That's kind of the mechanism through which they see themselves able to attract a less tech-savvy type of person into mining.
Right, and then you're trying to build a network out like that, essentially.
Yeah.
Is it browser-based?
Yep, it is browser-based. They have a test net running, and I managed to get connected to it. It looked like I was mining at one point, but I didn't even stick around long enough to generate any coins. So
looks like it's an Argon 2D algorithm.
Right.
But is there a gate? Is there some kind of gateway to control the mining that would prevent you from just spinning up an Argon like a web server? And
I really doubt there is anything that would stop somebody from finding a way to exploit their ability to be big on the network, if that's what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody would come up with a way.
Well, sometimes they try and put tricks in there to throttle people or make it difficult. At least I'm curious to know where they're at. And it's probably this is really new, so it's probably going to be pretty hard to tell. Oh, this might actually not be brand new. It might just be this might just be a re-announcement.
Either way, it's a Webdollar. And it's
Webdollar.
probably worth checking out their announcement, at least, if you're interested.
And it's the things that we like. No ICO. Looks like there's some new tech in there.
The test net.
Got that test net. Kind of stuff that I like to see.
Yep.
Webdollar. Next up was Monero Classic. We already touched on Monero Classic, I think, with Monero above. But
I think the only other thing to emphasize again is just the real scattering of, it seems like, of these Monero Classic ones. They seem totally disorganized to me. The only one that seems to have an even hash rate worth sort of making sure you notice is the one that supposedly has 70% of the old Monero chain.
Which is the ant pool, which is the Bitmain one, right?
Well, supposedly. I mean, it can't be just them, though. I imagine there's at least some other players in there.
But I think you have to imagine that most of the Monero people aren't super thrilled about jumping on the Bitmain team either. So I think that's part of why you're seeing this fragment in so many directions right now. Obviously, Bitmain has the hash rate, so they'll probably win. But
well, and Monero had their miners in their community, no problem. Those guys, their community came together without any problem for their part.
Well, there's some people that couldn't switch, so just by default, some members of the community will be forked off into Monero Classic.
Somebody might not have even noticed somehow. You know, they were gone for last month.
They just missed it.
Just running those Monero miners.
Yeah, exactly. But
anyway, so that one, we'll see what we hear about that in the future. I guess that's all we can find out about Monero Classic.
What else we got this week? We have a Bitcoin Cash Money announcement.
This one definitely seems like a joke, right?
Yes. Yeah, this is not legit, but it's just funny to me. I really would like people to do a lot of Bitcoin Cash forks, just to muddy the waters.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. It says Bitcoin Cash Money is the real Bitcoin Cash.
Exactly. This is Satoshi's true vision of what an altcoin that uses Bitcoin's name should be.
Satoshi's fever dream.
Bitcoin Cash Money. That's about all there is to it. I can't vouch for these guys in any way.
All right, so that's kind of just a fun one to round it off.
And that's going to do it for the new coins this week. I would take a look at Webdollar. If you had an SHA miner for some reason, you could have done 0x1 if you caught the launch. Yeah,
Webdollar is definitely an interesting pre-launch to take a look at. And if I was going to be mining a Monero fork instead of Monero, I think Wownero would be the one I'd choose out of these ones rather than any of the Monero classics.
Yeah, I'm 100%. in agreement with you on that. Alrighty, that's it for the new coins this week. We've been trying to take a quick look at stuff that's getting added to CoinMarketCap, but it's really just ICOs. This week is something called Rentberry. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's definitely not inspiring to look down this list.
What's weird is they're adding this stuff, and it's like the market cap is undetermined, the supply is undetermined. So I feel like if you can't even tell what the supply of the coin is, then really you're pushing the limits of what I'm used to as a blockchain or even a token.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's weird too because submitting coins to CoinMarketCap used to be really, really easy, and they would accept like anything.
Well, there's too many coins. I get that. I mean, I appreciate that they can't list every single stupid thing that comes out anymore.
Well, but like one of the filters that they have in the submission process now is that they want you to say that your coin has some amount of volume, and I can't remember what it is.
Right.
It's pretty high, something a day. So it excludes a lot of coins that I think that used to be in this list.
Right.
Friends coin.
Friends coin. That's new this week. So yeah, not too much to see there, in my opinion, on the new CoinMarketCap.
Nothing standing out. And we don't have any coin birthdays this week either.
No birthdays.
So we can skip over that.
What a tragedy. Well, we got no birthdays, then I think that's going to do it for Blockchain Dynamics number 89 here.
Yeah, I think that will do it.
Congrats to our trivia winner. Once again,
Congrats. We'll be sure to get at you after the show here.
Get that heat address from you.
If you want to get in contact with us or check out our archives, they're over at blockchaindynamics.net.
That's right.
This was show number 89, and we'll see you next week with way heavier bags.
Peace.
Currency.
Like a couple bitcoins.
Money,
Pull up on my Nakamoto.